Yo, yo, yo. How are we doing, people? Welcome, people. Can you hear me okay? Can someone in the chat let me know you can hear me okay? Because I think I pressed a different mic button tonight. But welcome. If you're here in the chat, what's up? Let me know if you can hear me okay. Beginning to worry that you guys can't hear me. But welcome. Anyone in the chat? 1 sec, I'm just going to have to check it here on my end. Oh, fantastic. Mackie Nobes, welcome. How are we doing tonight? Mackie, welcome. I don't think... Oh, I have seen... Mackie, you're a member, are you? I think you are. I think you recently just joined. Nice to meet you, Mackie. How are you doing? The worst thing about going on these streams is trying to fix my hair. I do not think this hair is getting fixed tonight, though. The chat was letting me do something just a second ago. Welcome, people. I wonder what that does. I've never really done that before. 5 people in the chat now. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Can you guys see that there in the chat? I just put in a Q&A. I don't know how that's really different from what I normally do, but we're going to find out. Just going to send the word out that we're back up and running. Architecture people. Welcome, welcome, welcome. See, I don't think I like having that there. I think I prefer just having the chat. I'm going to end that Q&A. I'm just going to do what we normally do. What's up, people? I sort of wish I had some like chilled out elevator music waiting for people to join, because all the dead air just stresses me out. If you're joining, welcome. Say hello in the chat. Let me know where you're coming from. Hello, hello. Good, 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 good. Just doing the little usual here. Opening the room early. Gonna put this out here onto the stream. How are we doing tonight, people? Don't be shy. Say hello. I'm here to answer your questions. So introduce yourself in the chat, shy people. Hoping to get this up and running in about 5 minutes. Opening it up properly. Welcome again. Good to hear it, Mackie. I will read that out in just a minute when we get up and running, good and proper. But thank you for joining. Love it when people join the lives for the first time. Because so many people reach out and they're like, well, when was the live? When was the live? And it's like, guys, the live's always the same time every week. There's one thing about me with the CRUMCAST, it has been consistently the same time now for 7 weeks. How do I share that? Oh, come on. Where is that link? Got it. I'm actually looking at the settings here to see if I can simply start a poll. Should I start a poll? Actually, I'm not going to start a poll. I don't want to mess with it. I don't want to mess what we've been doing. So welcome people. If you're just coming in, it is now 8 o'clock. So I'm going to give it to about 8:05 before kicking off the show. So if you're just joining, do introduce yourself. Do say hello. Write a little message in the chat. Get your questions ready. You know the drill. I'm going to do what we usually do. If you're here for the first time, do say hello, like Mackie Nobes 12 has done. Because Trent Allen, welcome, my man. Because so many of you come back every week, and that's fantastic. So just let me know that you're here. Say hello. In the meantime, I'm going to share this out now on Instagram. The countdown has ended. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, guys, stand with me here. I'm just going to do this quick Instagram post. Do introduce yourself. Do say hello. Talk amongst yourselves. What's going on? You working late? You in the studio? Got deadlines? If you're a student, we must be coming up to middle of the semester, midterm. I feel like an old man saying that. Zed, what's up? Let's go, Zed. Let's go. How do I do this stupid link? There it is. Boom. Okay, that link's out. Okay. Gonna get started now in about 3 minutes. I am gonna have to work on some sort of elevator music for this because I don't know. This part of I see your questions, Ed. The answer is no again, but I did see a really funny meme. I did see a really funny joke about Alexander this week. I'm a terrible host. I never do what I say I'm gonna do. J3 Hell 117. Hello, hello. Let me check this guy out again. Remind me. Zed, what is your obsession with this guy? Why do you like him so much? What's the deal? Austrian-born British-American architect and design theorist. Why though? Why do you like him, Zed? Why do you want me to look at him all the time? Check him out. I'm not making fun of you. I'm just curious. I had someone actually write me a message on TikTok like 30 minutes ago. And truth be told, I have no energy to respond to you via text. So if you're here, I will read out your question. I just struggle to talk about architecture through text. Anyone else get that? Sometimes you just want to chat about it, like you want to talk. I'll read all this outside when we get started proper. But yeah, I think you might be making a compelling case. Reading that. Okay. It is 8:04. We're coming up to 8:05. You know how it goes. If you've been here before, people usually just sort of roll in late in about 10 minutes from now, and the room really gets going. But if you're here now, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you. Thanks for joining. Remember, the real value here in this whole thing is the chat. So do use the chat. No passive architecture students in the CRUMCAST. Okay, I need you to engage in the chat because it just keeps us all going, and we can all start chatting with one another, which is fantastic. So I'm going to give it one more minute, and then I'll kick off the show. We have 9 people in the room. It'd be great to get to 10, and then we can start. But do say hello. Do tell me who you are. Do tell me where you're working, what you're working on. Introduce yourself, people, because there's a lot of people here who keep coming back, and that's great. But there's new people here as well. People who are just joining the live for the first time, like Mackie. Welcome, Mackie. So shout out to Mackie. Welcome, Mackie, to the CRUMCAST live chat. And Mackie, if you do have a question, do get it in. But I'm just going to give it another minute here, and we'll get into it. Is everyone having a good week? I think I like doing this on Thursday because it's not quite the weekend, but it's sort of almost the weekend. It's pretty good. Okay. Okay. So, guys, I think I'm gonna do something a little bit different tonight. So, but before I do that, not to keep you all in suspense, there's 10 of us here now in the room. Welcome back. This is another week of the CRUMCAST. So this is, geez, episode 8, episode 9, going for about 9 weeks now. It is the #1 live Q&A architecture show on the entire World Wide Web. So, I mean, like, how great is that? Basically, you've got like an architect who just will sit here and answer your questions for a good best part of an hour on a Thursday night. I mean, what more could you want? I know that most of your students, that's great, but I also know that some of you join on Thursday nights who are academics or teachers and are just architects in yourself, and that's fantastic as well. So all I ask is that, and I say this with nothing but affection, if you're an architecture baby, I'm an architecture baby, but if you're an architecture baby, get your questions in. Let's chat. Like, what's up? What are you doing? What are you struggling with? What do you want me to talk about this week? If you're an architecture uncle like me, or maybe you're an architecture daddy older than me, then moderate the chat for me, help people out, throw some questions my way if you want. I don't know if I can help you with your questions, but generally what happens here is that people sort of write in their questions, I talk about it, I go off on one, and then we start riffing. The questions turn into other questions and other questions and other conversations, and more people join into the room. And I think last week we had like a peak of around 25 people in the room, and that was amazing. So like, that's a very good number right now. I'm really happy with that. Someone made a joke once, saying something like, what am I going to do when there's like 100 people in the room? I actually hope that never happens, because I don't know what I'm going to do, because I love actually reading out every single question. So let's hope that doesn't happen. I mean, maybe I hope that happens. I have no idea. But having said that, this is CRUMCAST live Q&A, and we're live. So some housekeeping before I get into it. If you're joining, introduce yourself in the chat. Say hello. I see a lot of you doing that now. Fantastic, fantastic. I make it my mission to read out almost every single message I see and to answer every single question I can. And if I can't answer the question, someone in the chat will. So hopefully you can get some form of feedback. As usual, this is a free stream, but it is not ad free. Monetization is turned on. I don't know when the ad breaks will occur, but I apologize for that. There's only so much I can do. They should be limited. I know, oh yeah, Crumley, you could just make them ad free. It's like, I can't make them just ad free. I'm trying to grow the YouTube channel here. Do me a favor. But I generally just do this for free. Okay. I love doing it. I love talking. But if you want to do something for me, smash the sub button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to it already, leave me a like, and engage with the chat. And that's it. This is have fun. This is like, like a little mini sort of, I don't know, hangout on the internet, I guess, where I'm your architecture uncle and I'm chatting to you. So get your questions in. If I've forgotten anything, I'm not sure. There were some questions that were left as loose threads last week because they came in after I made final call at the bar. So I rang the little bell, and they were really good questions. And I probably could have went for another 30 minutes. So yeah, if you're here and I didn't get to your question at the end, do hit me up and I'll do it again. I see that the chat's kicking off here and I'm going to get into it, but I actually want to do something a little bit different tonight. Okay. It's not that different. I'm about to answer a question, but chat, maybe you can help me out with this one. So I get a lot of DMs, like I just do. I get a lot of DMs, and I was just saying there before a lot of you joined. Sorry, apologies. I was just saying there before a lot of you joined that I'm terrible at responding to DMs that are architecture related because I like talking about things, and I just find it bored because I think it's very hard to give a simple answer in just a text. For example, like I'll get a DM, right? I'll just get a message from someone, and it'll be like, what do you think of Peter Zumthor, good or bad? And I can just respond to that. Sorry, I just see your message there, so that's what made me think of that. And I'll just reply and be like, yeah, good, love him, great. You okay? Easy question. But sometimes I'll get a big, long, multiple paragraph question from someone. And I'm not in the business of just ignoring people, but I am ignoring people because I literally don't have the time to sit down and text the answer that these questions sort of deserve, right? So That's my way of saying, because I know some of you have made jokes on some Instagram videos that I don't respond to messages. I can't respond to every message, guys. Okay. I know that I'm acting like I'm a diva here, like I'm a celebrity or something. I'm not. It's literally like you ask a long, comprehensive, detail-oriented question, you deserve an answer to that, and I can't just send it to you over text. So I'm trying to concentrate that energy into this show where you talk to me here, and I'll chat to you about what I think. Now, on TikTok, I got a message from a guy named Alex, and I asked him if he could join tonight because it was only like 30 minutes ago. I don't think he has joined, but he asked me a question, and I want to read the question out here, and maybe we can answer it in the chat, and then he can find the stream later. So maybe he can come back to it and join it next week. Now, I wouldn't normally do this, but when I opened this message tonight, I saw that he's already sent me 2 messages before this. I'm literally ignoring the guy, okay? So sorry, I'm not naming him personally or calling him out or anything, but it's my way of saying I only want to help all of you to the best that I can, but DMs are not the way to do it. I'm just not. It sounds like a really nice problem to have. I get too many direct messages from you wonderful people, and I can't sit and reply to them all. This is a much better forum to do it, in my opinion. So, guys, I'm going to read out Alex's question here. If you have any thoughts, let me know, and I'm going to try and answer it live, and then you can find this video tomorrow. So, I got this message today. Hi, I was just wondering for some help. I had a review today for a project where we were meant to do a concept design for a building. My tutor understands my scheme and likes it, but he hated everything to do with the visuals. My interpretation of concept was not really slightly arty, but with the ability to imagine it built. He thought it was too much. I'm guessing that means too much detail. I've tried so hard when I've gone for this style of doing the exact opposite. Where do I go from here? I can take criticism, but when our ideas of a brief are completely off, then what point are we trying to meet? So I don't fully understand all the details in that question. Alex, I have directed you to the stream. Obviously, for good reason, you haven't been able to make it. That's cool. But I am trying to help you here. So, guys, what I'm understanding in that question, let me know in the chat if you agree or disagree. If you cannot reach a compromise with your professor, what are you supposed to do? Now, I know how I feel about that. Um, I think at a certain point, you're going to have to compromise and just give the professor what they're asking for. As much as when you're an architecture student, you love to believe in your ideas and your vision for a project. If you keep getting the same feedback and that feedback's negative, then you're doing something wrong. Now, Alex, obviously you're not here to make your point in the chat, and that's fine. And if I've misunderstood, then apologies. But I just think that's a good question to sort of start off the show this week. What do you do when you can't make any headway with your professor? Has anyone in the chat had that problem? I think I've had that problem a few times. Um, I may have recorded a really long episode with Rebecca about that particular topic today, but I'll get to that later. But I just wanted to sort of start off on that one. So, Alex, if I could give you advice, just try to give the professor what he wants. Try to give him what he wants, because as great as your style of representation and communication might be, it's clearly not working. And as miserable as it is to say, your professor is probably going to decide your grade. So you might just want to have to, let this one go. Maybe, maybe. But Alex, I do hope you see this. And that sort of kicks off the Q&A. So I just wanted to address that one. And I also wanted to address DMs. I know a lot of you here haven't joined via Instagram. I know a lot of you found me organically through YouTube, and that's great. But I know some of the rest of you, you'll chat, you'll send me DMs and stuff on Instagram. And I do try. I'll answer like really quick, brief ones, but I won't do big, long replies more often than not. Just for that exact reason, because that's what I've got this wonderful show for. So now we've got 15 people in the chat, and I'm going to start getting through your questions and your messages. But yeah, we really got some things going here. So Mackie Nobes 12 has joined for the first time. Hello, first time joining live with class schedule and time difference. I'm studying in upstate New York. Welcome. Yeah, always love it when someone's catching the live for the first time. Always love that, because it means that you've been engaging with the past recordings, which is brilliant, because I love it when people watch those, and then you're showing up on the live one, and I'll answer your questions, Mackie. I'm here for it. Trent Allen says hello, welcome. Kathia, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Yo. Zed says let's go. Zed also wants to know if I have read any of Christopher Alexander's works yet. I have not, but I am happy to talk about him. Zed says that the man makes design seem like a logical problem, and I think that's impressive considering design is often incredibly illogical and really complicated and abstract and subjective in many ways. But I think if you can pursue design as a logical problem, then you're probably off to a good start. So maybe I will check that out. I'm not really a logical individual, but I do appreciate, have a respect for logic hobbies, because I'm an architect, and at the end of the day, sometimes the simplest idea is the best one. J3 Hill 117 says, would you recommend pursuing a master's degree? I'm about to finish a 5-year studio program, but I feel like there's still so much I need to learn before entering practice. Does your 5-year studio program not include the masters? That feels excessive. So you're saying you need to do 5 years of studio, then a masters on top of that? Just give me some more details there. I'm happy to answer your question. I have thoughts on that. Ishan says, "What's up? Welcome. What's up?" Ilian says, "Hola." I'm assuming that is greetings from Portugal. How are you doing, Ilian? Um, guys, chat. We are in the presence of greatness here. Ilian has joined us. For anyone who doesn't know, big shout out and congratulations to Ilian. Ilian won first prize in the Future Blueprints very first alternative architecture competition. So, guys, if you're not familiar, first of all, shout out, big congratulations to Ilian. Second of all, you can see the full review on the Future Blueprint YouTube channel now, where we discuss Ilian's entry with the judges. So that's out now. So enjoy it. Guys, look, I don't say this lightly, but if you want to know how to win a competition, watch that episode, because we discuss it pretty clearly why we think Ilian's project was the one that deserved to win. So yeah, there's probably more value in that episode than there is in this show right now. But in all honesty, I'll leave it there, Ilian, because I'm probably embarrassing you. I see your messages there. You say you're far too kind, Kel, but keep going. Yeah. Okay, I will cut it off now. But yeah, big shout out, Ilian. I just wanted to address that, because I know, Zed, you've asked as well if that winner's been announced. So if you didn't know that already, the winner has been announced. But you can see the full judging episode with our 3 fantastic guests last week. So that was a lot of fun. We want to do more competitions like that, but you have to understand it's an incredible amount of time. And Rebecca and I are very busy, as much as we just would love to just do that. And also, and I wrote a piece about this on Patreon this week. I don't know if anyone saw it, about architecture competitions in general. They're not good. I mean, yeah, Ilian's probably sitting here thinking, I think they're great. You would say that, Ilian, you just won one. But what I mean is, like, there are problems associated with competitions. Happy to have that chat though. But sorry, I just saw you pop up in the chat, and I just thought, what a good time. What a good time to congratulate you. I see that you just dropped a question in there, Ilian. I'll just get through them in order. But thanks for joining. Greetings. Welcome from Portugal. Where are we seeing here? Mate 8609 saying hello from the lovely Budapest. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How is it in Budapest? Are you a student, mate? Are you working there? What's up? Ishan says, final submission coming up on Monday. Wish me luck. Good luck. Very good luck. You'll be fine. This is the thing, right? Guys, you're all here because you're big architecture nerds. And I say that as a compliment, okay? If you're hanging out in this live stream, then you obviously have an appreciation for very high architectural culture / content. And what that tells me about you is that you're a good student. So you'll be good. You'll be fine. So like I'm not, put it this way, Ishan, I'm not worried for you. I don't think you need luck, but I'll wish you luck anyway. You'll do great. All the best. And now you want me to drop some wisdom. Just dropped it. You're going to be good. You're going to do well. Zed says, what is your... I'm sorry, Ishan, I will drop more wisdom, because that's what you're all here for. It's the wisdom. Zed says, what's your obsession, if I may call it that, with Zumthor? Zed, what makes you think I'm obsessed with Zumthor? I'm not disagreeing with you. I don't feel like I talk about Peter Zumthor much. Do I? Chat, let me know. Do I talk a lot about Peter Zumthor? There's one architect who I talk about more than any other, and I almost just do it because it's becoming a meme at this point. And I love him as an architect, but that's not really why I talk about him. I'm actually really critical of him. And I'm critical of him because I talk about him, and that's Norman Foster. So anyone who's been following my content for a long time is like, I love talking about Foster. I just think Foster's a really interesting personality and an amazing architect. I say that sincerely. Peter Zumthor, though, I don't know. I don't think I talk about Peter Zumthor that often, but let me know, Zed, if you've got an example, and happy to get into it. I mean, Peter Zumthor's great, right? Like, I don't think we've got any Peter Zumthor haters here in the chat. Maybe we do. Willy Wonka. Absolutely love that username. Hi, architecture student here. Working on preliminary member sizing for grid shell for static class. What do you think of grid shells like Mannheim? Maybe we're using a different name for the same thing. Is it embarrassing if I now just Google what we're talking about here? Grid shell. Oh yeah, I see what we're talking about now. So let me get back to your question. I like it. I find it fussy. Would it be wrong of me to describe it as a parametric structure? Am I misreading that, Willy Wonka? Because from how I understand it, it is parametric. I mean, obviously, the examples I'm looking at are somewhat parametric. 1 second. Just gonna get some water here. But that is how I'm sort of understanding it. I like them aesthetically speaking. I think they can work quite well and can perform. They perform incredibly well structurally speaking. But there is often a parametric aspect to the design of them. Can be a little bit problematic, perhaps from a sustainable point of view. Happy to talk more about it. I just want to make sure. So, guys, you all know by now. Like, you'll ask me a question, I'll respond with another question because I don't understand the question first time round. But I'm actually, you know what? I will just double check what we're talking about specifically with Mannheim. There was an Incredible Fosters project I remember seeing a while ago, and it was like a drone port, and it was used to deliver like ceramic materials or clay slips for schools being built in Africa. I don't know if anybody in the chat's familiar with it, but that was my first exposure, I think, to a grid shell project. I remember thinking, oh, quality. So I do think they're cool, generally speaking. Mackie says, I will be starting my architecture thesis next year. Any advice for developing a strong topic? Do what you want to do. The best thesis projects come from individuals who are just passionate about the topic. What happens often, from my experience, is that some thesis projects develop because the tutor is trying to push an idea onto the student because the student doesn't have any ideas for themselves. When I began my thesis project, I had a really great professor. Um, yeah, like just an incredible architect, in fact. Um, but a good professor. I think he's a professor. I called him the professor anyway. I don't think he liked that. But he assigned a task at the very beginning of the year because he didn't know any of us, so he was only meeting us for the first time. And it was a really nice task. And it was like, hey, pen up 10 images, whatever you want. 10 images of anything you want. And by this point, because you're like a thesis student, you've got your own taste in some ways, right? So I pinned up 10 images. You know what? I wish I could share my screen here because I've actually got that PDF now. Guys, I'm working on screen sharing capabilities here. I'm pretty sure that technology exists in 2025. I am looking into it because these streams are getting more successful every week. So I am going to try and make the production a little bit better. But I don't have screen sharing capabilities right now. The technology just doesn't exist yet. What can you do? But my professor wanted me to pin up 10 images. So I can probably rhyme off the top of my head what they were. But the idea, right, is that these 10 images. Okay. I'm sorry, Mackie. I just skipped ahead and saw that there. Okay, brilliant. So you understand, right? In other words, like, so there, I had my 10 images, and it was a combination of okay, Zed, I'm gonna give you this one. There was a drawing by Peter Zumthor in this 10. There was a drawing by Carlos Scarpa. There was a stone detail by Alvaro Siza. There was a door jamb detail by Olivetti. There was a detail of the Farnsworth House by Mies van der Rohe. It was a collection of little fragments of pieces of things. And there was a painting by Francis Bacon, I think. And the idea basically in this review was that the professor and his teaching assistant or the co-tutor sort of extracted from it a theme. And the idea then was for me to just sort of lean into that theme for the entire year. And that's exactly what I did, and I finished, like, in the top of my class that year. Now, that's just my way of explaining my experience. For a lot of other people, a thesis can be a really painful, difficult process. But what I because I know that I see that you've seen that episode with Rebecca, which is fantastic. Because I advise everybody on here to check out the content on the Future Blueprint YouTube channel because it's gold, and we just give it away to you beautiful people for free. It's fantastic, but it's really, really good content. But what I'm saying is that bring something of yourself to the table. Do not sit by and wait for the professor to tell you what to do because you'll do something bad. Probably will. Um, I also took like the foundation of my thesis was also built on the dissertation that I'd written the year previous. Now every university is different, but I for a long time had an obsession with the Stone House. So I wrote my dissertation on that house, and I wrote something like 20,000 words. And those 20,000 words were basically a primer for the thesis a year later. So there was like the 10 images, and there was the dissertation, and then there was just my own taste of what I wanted to do. And I just enjoyed it. That's the thing. I always feel terrible. I feel so bad for students who are like the thesis year was the worst. Because I'm about to say something a little bit miserable here, but the thesis year is like as good as it gets. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the thesis year should be like the final boss in a fun way. You're basically just using everything that you've learned up to this point. You're putting it into one project, and you're making your baby. It's your baby project. It's everything you've ever wanted to make. And for so many people that I've spoken to in like professional practice years after, most people agree. It's like, yeah, thesis project was as good as it was as good as it got. Like I say that all the time. Like for a lot of people, it's a bit pathetic that 8 or 9 years after, I still talk about my thesis sometimes. But I loved it. It was so good. It's the best thing I've ever designed, and it wasn't even finished. Do you know what I mean? So, but that's just me. That's just me. I'm a little bit of a architecture sicko in that sense. But Mackie, I hope that helps. But I am glad that you did check out the Future Blueprint content because there's so much gold there. And Rebecca, I mean, her thesis is like an award-winning thesis. It was like the best thesis in our entire class, nominated for like RIBA President's Medal, RSUA President's Medal, won like the best thesis in the island of Ireland. I think she won first prize. Like there's a novelty to my thesis. I know that there's a quirky nature to it. People love the drawings, and people love it when I just chat about it. But like Rebecca's thesis is a thesis. Like that's a thesis. Do you know what I mean? So that's a kind of thesis that you should be talking about a decade later. My thesis isn't that kind of thesis. But anyway, all this talk about thesis and thesi and theses, don't even know what the correct terminology is there. Okay, how are we doing? What are we doing on the chat? Thanks, people. We're up to, yeah, we're 12 now. Remember to keep your questions coming in. It's Alien, so I'm just rereading some of your messages there. But yeah, again, congratulations. Alien, I do have a question this week too, actually. What is Genius Lo-Fi, and when are we getting a first episode? Guys, what more could you want from your audience than people hyping you up just like that? Banger question, Alien. Glad you asked. Guys, so Genius Lo-Fi is my new podcast. Okay. I'm getting a podcast off the ground. I've already booked some incredibly exciting guests. Some of them are architecture influencers who we've discussed on this show a few times. I don't believe that an architectural influencer necessarily makes for the best podcast guest, but they're people that I've developed how do you say a relationship with just from chatting on Instagram and responding in comments and stuff, and I've had calls with some people. So the idea behind Genius Lo-Fi, for anyone who is not a big loser architecture nerd like I am, but if you've guessed it by now, Genius Lo-Fi is a hilarious play on Genius Loci, or as some people pronounce it, Loci, which I don't. It's low-ci, lo-fi, loci, but it's Latin, and it translates to the spirit of the place. And it is an architectural concept that you should have been taught about in architecture school at some point. Apologies if that's super condescending and you all know that already. But I once had a conversation with a friend a few years ago, and I was saying if I ever started a band that was architecture themed, I would call it Genius Lo-Fi. And I remember thinking that was the funniest thing in the world. So I ran out straight away, went onto the internet and bought the domain because I remember thinking it was the greatest thing I'd ever thought of in my entire life. And within a year, the domain expired and I never did anything with it. But as part of the Crum Media enterprise that now includes the YouTube channel, CRUMCAST, Instagram, TikTok, everything else, Genius Lo-Fi will now be my podcast that I'm going to host. And the idea is eventually it'll be used to hopefully platform smaller creators and smaller architectural designers or young architects who have just started a practice. Because I know so many people have so many people my age, my generation, classmates have started practices and started businesses, and they're not struggling, they're doing well, but I want to help promote them. You know what I mean? Like, I want to help promote them. I want people to know about these practices. I want people to know about the architects behind the practices. I want people to basically have a platform that they can that they can that they can promote themselves on. So I'm hoping Genius Lo-Fi can be that. It can be an arc, and the idea is that we're going to talk about my mission for every episode is that every guest has to be prepared to bring on one big idea. So the idea is that we're going to communicate big, complicated ideas for the architecture scene in the profession, and we're going to deliver it in digestible, fun, easy methods, podcast, audio, just fun, lighthearted, just a bit of goofing, but we want people to be able to engage with it and enjoy the content. So I had a list when I made the Instagram account will just be used for clips. That's it. So I have no intentions of actually producing a lot of content on there. It'll be available on all podcast services. It'll be on Patreon. You can support it through Patreon now. In fact, it would be stupid of me to not drop the Patreon link in there, because if you're here and you love what I do, you can become a free member on Patreon, where you can also get access to my writing. Guys, I'm not a writer, but I know that my writing's really good. Writing is important. If you're an architect, you should know how to write. I don't know how to write, do as I say, not do as I do. But I'm going to share that link with you now here in the chat, so you can join as a free member. There are paid tiers. Don't worry about the paid tiers, because I am not promising anything through the paid tiers yet. But what I want to say is, Ilian, thanks for setting me up there. So Genius Lo-Fi is an architecture design podcast that's going to be coming soon. I've got 10, I think I've almost got 10 people booked. And I'm in the middle of sorting calls now. Because the hard thing is that when you get people on who have full-time jobs, you got to get the schedule working for everyone, you know? And everyone's got different commitments, different time zones, all the stuff that you'd imagine. And that's all okay. So let's see if that works. It's there, and I'm going to pin that to the very top. Guys, the Patreon link's at the very top. There's a free tier if you want, join for free. If you join for free, you get free access to all of my writing, all of my angry man rants. Old man yells at cloud. I mean, guys, why would you not want to hear what I have to say about the Architecture Registration Board, architecture competitions, architecture podcasts? Guys, it's all there. It's the best content that I make. It's on Patreon and it's free. So the link's there anyway. Thanks for setting that one up for me, Alien, though. So yeah, we talk all the time on here about architecture podcasts that you should listen to. I'm going to make one for you as well. So that's good, right? You'll get to listen to me as well, not just look at me every Thursday night on the live stream. But guys, this is an interesting one. Maybe if you're here and you're engaged with this conversation, who would you like to see me bring on? Who would you like to see me interview on Genius Lo-Fi? I have a really good list at the minute of people who are going to come on, are going to be great. But is there anyone I've never considered? I don't know. Guys, let me know in the chat. Who would you love to see me interview on a podcast? It can be as ridiculous as you want. Zed, do not say Christopher Alexander. Please do not, because that means I'll have to do research on him and read his books. I'm only joking, Zed. Where are we now in the chat? Guys, the numbers are crawling up here. Great to see all of you. If you're just joining, hello, hello, hello. We are in a flow state tonight. We all are. We're all working together. The architecture hive mind is growing. So Ilian, yeah, thanks for the question and congratulations again. Big shout out, Ilian. Well done. J3 Hill, question follow-up to the original question. Yes, 5 years for degree, which is crazy in my opinion. I agree. That's absurd. But I'd love to build my portfolio and pursue a more prestigious program. So sorry again to send you back into the chat. Where are you studying? What are your ambitions? And it's okay. You can say it in the chat here. Like, there's not going to be any judgment. Where do you want to work? Do you know who you want to work for? Do you know what type of practice you want to work for? Because that'll determine whether or not you should go do the masters ultimately. Because you can do your portfolio in your free time. You should be able to. Like, you don't need to go to university just to grow your portfolio, I would argue. Niels de Bruin. Hi, greetings from the Netherlands. Hello, hello. I worked in the Netherlands, believe it or not, once upon a time. Love it. Loved it. I worked in Rotterdam. Please correct me, chat, if I'm wrong, but Holland and the Netherlands and Rotterdam. Yeah, I worked in Rotterdam for like 6 weeks. It was a good time. Big fan. So yeah, nice to meet you, Niels. Thanks for saying hello and introducing yourself. Welcome, welcome. Zed says this must be in relation to Peter Zumthor again. Why do you like his work or criticize it? And how does an architecture newbie distinguish good architecture from bad one? Because not all aesthetic things are good architecture. That's true. It's sort of your mission as an architecture student to develop your own taste. That's my way of saying I don't really know the answer to that question, but I'm trying to say it in a way that's really like clippable, makes me sound knowledgeable. Zed, that's one that falls onto the student, because here's the thing, right? If I'm teaching a student and they love something I hate, it's not my place to tell them that they're wrong. Like what you like. Like what you like. As long as you understand why you like it. And even sometimes you don't need to understand. For me, I find my taste comes from the emotional reactions I sort of get from looking at the work in the drawings. If there's one thing that never works on me is I refuse to like an architect just because everybody likes the architect. You gotta be more critical than that. Um, think for yourself. I remember once trying to flex once at some party when I was a student about why so and so is my favorite. And there was a girl there and she was like, "But why?" And I was like, "Oh," no, no, she's like, "Why is that your favorite architect?" And I was like, and she was like, "You can't even tell me why." And I was like, yeah, I know." Because I don't know why. Because we think sometimes as architecture students, like, we have to like the architects that we're taught about, or we have to like the architects that our tutors like, or we have to like the professors that, you know, that we're told we should like. Like, every architecture school has a canon of sorts. Like, it's your responsibility to challenge that, question it. Rebecca does that all the time. If you've seen the content she makes on the Future Blueprint, like, yeah, here's 5 architects you were taught about that you probably shouldn't really be a big fan of. Like, you might like their work, but here's what you should know about the individual. Can you separate the artist from the art, etc., etc.? Now, I know your question wasn't necessarily about that, Zed. Why do I like his work or criticize it? I think Peter Zumthor's work is incredible. Like, the level of craft and artistry that goes into the design and construction of those projects is like probably the best in the world. I know people who have worked in a studio and they agree. I hear it's an incredibly difficult studio to work in. I hear it's an even more difficult studio to get a job in. I mean, I've worked in some crazy practices, but I would never in a million years have ever occurred to me to apply there. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh no, I would never. Why would I work there? Um, because I just would feel like I'd offer that practice nothing. Maybe that's unfair of me to say, but like, I sort of hold that studio in very high regard. But I do think as architects, we fetishize the saint-like nature of Peter Zumthor. We sort of whisper his name, don't we? We sort of say it quietly, like out of reverence and respect. Um, but I do think it's probably because he's probably one of the greatest living architects in the world right now. And I just do think it's like, hey, we should celebrate that, right? Um, like, I'm trying to think. Like, I mean, here's a question to the chat. Name a better living architect in the world right now, a better architect than Peter Zumthor. And I'm not saying that because I think I'm right. Like, I'm curious to see what you think. Um, I don't know. I don't even know if that answers your question, Zed. I feel like your questions always throw me, but um, you say, how does an architecture newbie distinguish good from bad? Because not all aesthetic things are good architecture. Well, I mean, I think at a certain point, even if you're an architecture newbie, you can look at a building in a city and be like, oof, that makes no sense. This doesn't work. I was actually visiting a building in Stockholm the other day, and the building was from an incredible architect. In fact, I'm going to find the link here. Just double checking this before I say anything stupid. Don't know if I've got anyone from Sweden in the chat. Yeah. So if anyone is familiar with, I'm going to send a link into the chat, people. So I don't, yeah, I live pretty close to this project, in fact. Dropping it in the chat there. And I've walked past it a number of times, and I've always been aware of Peter Selsing as an architect. Now, Peter Selsing is a massively celebrated architect. I literally don't have a bad word to say about Peter Selsing at all. I think Peter Selsing was a fantastic architect. But if you can see the images here in that link that I just sent in, see that entrance threshold? That was one of the worst experiences I've ever had with a public piece of architecture in my entire life. Like, it was just fundamentally awful. Like, I'm not an athlete, but I am a fit individual. Okay, I'm a healthy young man to a certain degree. My calves were aching walking up that walking up that ramp to get into that building. It is preposterously bad, in my opinion. And what I'm getting at is you don't need to be an architect to think that, because in many ways, an architect would be like, but this can't be bad because it's Peter Selsing. Whereas I'm like, I know it's Peter Selsing and I think this is bad. It doesn't mean the project's a failure. It doesn't mean the project's bad. It doesn't make the architect bad. It's just that this entrance is fundamentally bad, in my opinion. It hurts me to get into your building and it shouldn't. Like, I can feel it in my calves. It's like climbing a mountain. It's like climbing a mountain to get into the foyer. So what I'm getting at when I say that is what I say this is that humans have a sensibility and a taste for what makes something good or bad. Architecture students do. Architecture newbies do. I think that's okay. And then architects, then we go a little bit deeper as to why we like things and question things and interrogate it a bit, and that's okay as well. So I'm just gonna get some water here. Whoa, 20 in the chat now. We're growing. Sorry, realize that we're really going through here. Okay, Mikey, I did respond to that one. Leon, hi Cal, and congrats to Ilian for the competition one. Hello, Leon, and congrats again, Ilian. Leon, good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Ishan, low key, can't wait for thesis. I can pretty much do anything I want. In theory. I mean, you can't do anything you want. There are always rules. You will always have a master, I'm afraid. Leon says, going on a study trip to Paris in February, and of course, the Pompidou is closed for 5 years. Any building recommendations for where to visit? It's funny. I've only been to Paris once. The Pompidou wasn't closed, but I didn't go in. I don't know. I can't remember what the reason was why was, but I didn't go in. There is a really cool. I'm just going to check this now for you, Leon, because pronunciations and stuff. Don't want to say the wrong thing here. I think it is. It's worth seeing, but I'm not going to say that it's good. Okay, but it's worth seeing. The Arab World Institute. Do check out the Arab World Institute. I'm just double checking who this is by now. As a facade, it's really interesting. It's by Jean Nouvel. It's a really cool building worth seeing. I believe it's pretty easy to find because we found it. There's some other good stuff in Paris, though. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Why have I lost the chat here? I mean, I don't know what the extent is to the work on the Pompidou, but still go see it. Like, go see it. Go see the outside of it. So I'm just double checking that message there. Chat, anyone got anything for Leon to see in Paris? Do we have any French natives here? Yeah, the Arab Institute comes to mind, but not so much in how it performs. I don't think it actually works very well personally, but it's a cool building. So check it out. Trying to see what else you got. Oh, Leon, thanks for joining Patreon. Much appreciated. Guys, if you're just joining, the Patreon link is in the chat. Free to join for all of my angry man rants. There are paid tiers, but they're optional. The free tier is where you're getting the goods at the minute. So would appreciate it if you join. Leon, have you been to Paris before? Because I'm not trying to be rude when I say this, but like, go see the Eiffel Tower. Like, go see it. It's cool. It's worth seeing. Go see it. The thing about Paris alone, though, is the city itself is really quite amazing from a urban planning point of view. I know we've got some urban nerds in this chat now and then, like talking about urbanism. But I mean, Paris is as cool as it gets when it comes to urban design in a lot of ways. You really just you could throw a brick in Paris and you'll find something cool. I think you'll be okay. But Chad, if you've got any recommendations for Leon, shout them out. Son in studio, do you like architecture? No. Hate it actually. This is why I do like live streams about it. This is why I have an entire YouTube channel dedicated to it. Hate it. Don't know what else to say. Don't know what else to say. Leon says, would have done Bauhaus for a band name, but sadly that's taken. Yeah, but like Genius Lo-Fi is still out there, guys. If someone wants to team up with me, we'll make a band. I mean, I'm already making a podcast, but we can do the band. Cootie Sauce, welcome. How do you deal with like knowing what good work is, but not meeting your own expectations for quality of work as a student? Cootie Sauce, apologies, okay. Have you asked me this question before? I feel like I answered this question recently. I don't mind doing it again. I just want to make sure. Okay. Oh, I've also seen a few more in there. Sorry, I'm just skimming ahead in the chat. Cootie Sauce. I call this they call it the taste skill gap. So it happens when let's treat it like it applies to architecture, but let's just treat it first in a simpler fashion. If you're trying to learn how to paint and you're creative, you've got a creative instinct in you, you know what you want to paint, you can visualize it in your head, but you don't have the skill to connect the gaps. So when you try to manifest your vision on a painting, it looks like poop because you don't got the skills. That is the skill taste gap. You've got taste, you don't have skill yet. The good thing about this problem is that skills are easy to learn. They just take time. Patience, that's it. It takes time. It's really frustrating. But the people who persevere and are consistent in practice get better, and they close the skill taste gap faster, and they get better as a result. So, Cootie Sauce, I'm going to try and direct that back now to your specific question. How do you deal with knowing what good work is, but not meeting your expectations for quality of work? Maybe I haven't fully understood the question then, but what I'm getting at is don't be hard on yourself. It's not healthy to be your own worst critic. I've learned this the hard way. If someone whose opinion you respect says your work is good, listen to them. Take their word for it. And if someone whose opinion you don't respect says your work isn't good, ignore them. You don't respect them anyway. Does that help? It's not, we can only critique our own work to a certain point. But no matter how talented you are or how much of a genius you might think you are, you will not see something that someone else will. And sometimes you might not want that feedback, but you need that feedback. The work doesn't matter if you're not showing it to people, in my opinion. So you got to get to the point where you're happy to have someone else tell you what it is, or at least contribute to the conversation. Sorry if I've misunderstood that one, Cootie Sauce, but I feel like I've given a version of that answer to someone recently. And that's what I think. Stop being hard on yourself, because at the end of the day, it's not your opinion that matters. It's your client or your tutor or your boss. All we can do is try and improve. That's it. Ishan, good one. Yeah, so maybe that was useful for you as well, Ishan, I hope. Alien says, no worries, looking forward to listening. Yeah, there will be episodes available before Christmas for sure. Excited to launch that. Yeah, Leon, thank you for joining the Patreon. Much appreciated. Ishan, get Nikos Salangaros. Sorry, I'm just going to double check who that is. I'm not familiar with that name. Sorry, chat, if I should know who that is. See, I'm learning every week. You guys teach me stuff. A mathematician and polymath known for his work on urban theory, architectural theory, complexity theory, and design philosophy. I don't know what I would talk to this individual about. I mean, have you seen my content? I am not exactly a high intellectual individual. At least I don't believe so. Maybe you disagree. Appreciate the recommendations, though. Something tells me he wouldn't reply to my message if I asked him to come on my podcast, especially one that's called Genius Lo-Fi. I don't know, maybe. Alex Copley, Hi, Cal. I messaged you on TikTok earlier about having a bad crit with a concept design. I can send more info. Alex, welcome. Thanks for seeing that message. Obviously you're just joining now. I actually answered your question at the very beginning of this stream, so it'll be available in the recording that'll go out in about 12 hours. But that's not helpful for you right now, okay? So Alex, I'm gonna have another crack at this if you're still here, and I'm gonna try and read it out again. And chat, do help out with this one this time because I really don't think my original answer was any good. Um, so Alex, if you don't mind, I'm going to read your question out here. Hi, was just wondering for some help. I had a review today for a project. We were meant to do concept design for a building. My tutor knows my scheme and likes it, but hated everything to do with the visuals. Where do I go from here? I can take criticism, but when our ideas of a brief are completely off, then at what point are we trying to meet? So, Alex, if I don't understand correctly, your tutor likes your design. He doesn't like the way in which you're representing the design. It's a visual problem. It's not a design problem. Is that correct? Do you mind if I ask, how are you visually showing it? Like, and I don't mean this to be critical. Is it that your drawings are bad, or is it that the style of the drawings is just something your tutor just doesn't like? Like, is it a subjective criticism or is it an objective criticism? Are your drawings bad or are they just not to your tutor's taste? That's what I'm trying to understand here, and I can try to help. But thank you for joining. I hope you don't mind. I did have this earlier at the beginning, but you may not have been here. So I've covered this a couple of times, but chat, what do you think? What do you think about that? How do you bridge that gap between what you like and what your tutor likes, and how do you reach a compromise that's makes everyone happy? I don't know. But Alex, I'm happy if you got more details on that one, I'm happy to come back to you. He's a cultist says Chicago in the house. Welcome, welcome. I'm here on company time. Should I feel guilty? No. I'm way more fun than your company. I'll teach you more as well. No, I don't know about that. I won't teach you much, but welcome and thanks for risking your entire professional career, Isacolta, for joining the CRUMCAST. I mean, I'm honored. But your sacrifice can't be in vain, so let's make it good for you. Do you have a question? Yeah, anything you want to know? In the meantime, I'm going back to some of these other questions coming in here. Leon Sefton says Peter Zumthor is basically treated like a saint at my uni. I fully agree. He is, isn't he? Like, what is that? Like, I understand he's got the monk-like garb and he looks a little bit like a saint. And chat, for the record, he's a phenomenal architect. He's incredible. Okay. Some of his books were like the first architectural text that I ever read, and I was like, my baby architecture brain was melted. I was like, whoa, this guy's pretty good. I think I should keep an eye on this guy. He's a rising star. This was like 2011. He was already like, I'm pretty sure he was already a Pritzker Prize winner by that point. But yeah. Do you know, I actually think I went to a different tutor at one point and was like, have you ever heard of Peter Zumthor? He's laughed at me. He's like, "Oh yeah, I think I've heard of him. Yeah, like the greatest architect of our age, of our time." But yeah, he is treated like a saint. That is funny. But you have to whisper his name. Don't say it out loud. Never shout it. Just whisper it. I hear if you whisper it 3 times in a row, he appears. He manifests like a spirit, and he just tells you that your design's bad. He doesn't teach anymore, does he? He used to teach once upon a time. I don't think he teaches anymore. Cool architect though. What else have I got on here? Sorry. Leon, where did you study? Out of curiosity. Ted Alando was another one. I agree. He's definitely on that same ballpark for sure. Son and Studio, why do we idolize architects? I don't know. I actually don't know the answer to that one. I think if you go through the architecture school system, it's in your nature to idolize them. But then I also don't really fully know why we do. I think we're just attracted to the success. Maybe. I don't know. It's a good question, actually. It could be the entire theme for an episode. Hedera Kyo, sorry, I always say your name terribly. Welcome. Parc de la Villette for sure. Yeah, I feel like I'm a terrible architect here, but nothing to really suggest for Paris. I've only been once, believe it or not. And I don't speak French. Like go see the Louvre. Like I was saying this to someone last week. I know these are like, I might as well just be giving like time out recommendations here. Like I sound like such a tourist, but Leon, you never mentioned, is this the first time you've ever been to Paris? I'm not sure, but someone was asking about Rome last week or a couple of weeks ago. Go see the hits. If it's your first time in a city, go see the hits. And then go deeper next time and go deeper and deeper and deeper after that. But just go see the hits. Go to the Louvre, go to the Eiffel Tower. Yeah, go see the restaurant that Ratatouille takes place in. I don't know. There's so much to do. But yeah, really good recommendations in here. Much appreciated, chat. Thanks for carrying me. Cootie Sauce says, where did you work in Rotterdam, if you can say? I worked for a company in London for years called McCrain or Lavington. I don't know if anyone in the chat's familiar with them. They're a Rotterdam and London based practice. So they have a Rotterdam office and a London office. But I worked in the London office for years. So I worked there as a part one and I worked there as a part two. But when I was a part two, they had a gig starting. They had a job starting. They had to run it from the Rotterdam office and they needed a part two architectural assistant to run part of the job on the Revit side. So I was like, Revit guy. And they were like, hey, like, we'll just set you up. You can live there for the job. And we'll pay for you to come back on the Eurostar every weekend. Because I was obviously living with my girlfriend at the time in London. Because I was like, I live in London. I'm not moving to Rotterdam. And they were like, just do Monday to Friday in Rotterdam and come back at the weekends until the job's over. And I was like, that actually sounds great. So I think the job is supposed to be for 3 months. And I did it for 6 weeks because at the same time I was interviewing in other practices and I got a job offer for another practice. So I basically they were like, you gotta just stay in Rotterdam for a couple of more weeks and then you can just quit. And I was like, okay. So then I was like living in Rotterdam. I was just sort of just rocking into the office and I was already kind of like checked out because I knew I had a new job starting. But Rotterdam's an amazing city. Really love Rotterdam. And McCrainer Lavington, great company to work for. I still have a lot of friends who work there and just really cool people. Just a really nice office. Just everyone there was really nice. So yeah, don't really have a bad word to say about it. If anything, they probably have a bad word to say about me, the way I handled the Rotterdam situation. But you live and you learn. It's a long time ago now. It was 2019. Chat, we're going for an hour here, and I still feel like I have a ton of messages, so I'm really, really getting distracted tonight. So I'm trying to catch up on these. I know some of you are just chatting about Paris, which is good. Yeah, Cootie Sauce, So Fujimoto Studio in Paris, Beaux-Arts Campus. Yeah. Um, Zed, I see your question here. Don't know how this will come across like, but what if like some architecture should be disturbing physically, not just visually, to make us more mindful? Are you sort of asking, are there examples of bad architecture by which we can learn how to not do architecture? There's a house, isn't there, in Los Angeles? It's like a horror house. It's designed really horribly. I don't know if it's a good reference. Does anyone know the house I'm talking about? Can't think of the name of it. Otherwise, Zed, I'll try and come back to that one actually. Cootie Sauce says go and see a Paris Saint-Germain game. Could do that. That's right. You guys are chatting about Paris. Yeah. Haydar, I see that as well. Via Savoie. Like that would have been on my list, but like you said, it's not as straightforward to just get to, is it? From Paris necessarily. And Corbusier is problematic, but the building is beautiful. See, that's the thing. Like, I appreciate that. Completely agree with. Like, there's a sentiment there. Like, can you separate the art from the artist? I've never heard. I only hear bad things about Le Corbusier these days, but like, I still want to go see his buildings. You know, still want to go see them. I've never been to a Le Corbusier project. I don't believe. No, I don't think so. So it's on the to-do list, I guess. Cootie Sauce. Okay, you guys, you big Paris nerds. You're all still talking about Paris. Willy Wonka says, hate architecture school too. That is why I'm here. That's why we're all here. We've all made mistakes, people. This is our purgatory. We're all being punished. You're all being punished. That's why you're here on my live stream now every Thursday night, where we're just going to perpetually talk about architecture forever. That's it. Welcome. At least I get to be sort of, at least maybe this is my punishment, having to be the one talking, but here we are. Cootie Sauce, I think I might have asked a similar question. Maybe. I don't know if it was you specifically. Why do you have a channel about something you hate? Don't know. But here we are. We're all here, aren't we? Maybe it's an ironic channel. Cootie Sauce says, yeah, I found lately I have to recalibrate my expectations and understand it takes longer than I want. It just takes time. You just have to be patient. You just have to be patient. We all have a skill gap issue. Like, I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't worry about it. And yeah, okay, I see that you're getting critical feedback, so that's good. Curious says, I think I'll start listening. Also got a really good interview at a firm I like. Didn't get the job, but they must have seen something. That's always a good sign, guys. That's always a good sign. I used to work on the selection committees for practices that would invite people to interviews. And I also would work sometimes on the interview side as well. And you don't get an interview to practice by luck. You don't. So I know some people get into the situation where they're getting interviews, but they're not getting the jobs. But it's like, oh, but you're getting close. You're getting close. It's not a fluke. It's not a fluke. So if you're getting invited to firms for interviews, then you're on the right track. You're on the right track. Alex, amazing. Thank you. You're welcome. I know that there's a little bit more. You think it's style. Sorry, I'm just cross reading some of these messages here together. Alex, I've done already conceptual ideas, but I think he wants very traditional. But other people went beyond conceptual, and he, for some reason, seemed to like that more. Alex, it could be a problem, right? Where it could be that it's sort of like it's like riding a bike. And I don't know what your relationship is like with your professor, right? But you don't get to ride a bike with no hands until you're riding the bike proper first. Like you don't get to do the stunts and the flips until you've proven that you can just balance. Now, your professor might want to be convinced first that you understand what the project is before you get sort of distracted maybe by visuals. And I always say this to people all the time, and I know a lot of students don't like this, okay? But I always say this, if your project, if your architecture can't be understood or communicated clearly to a third party, like a tutor or someone else, through a simple line drawing, a simple 2D line plan and elevation, then there's a problem with your project. So maybe what you need to do, Alex, is convince your tutor that the project works, like it works architecturally, so to speak, fundamentally, by just showing the most simple drawings. And then be like, can I jazz this up a little bit now with some visuals and creativity? Maybe then that'll work a little bit better. Because I find that a lot of the projects that have the high-end conceptual visuals actually lack architectural substance because they're chasing wow, they're chasing eyeballs, they're chasing controversy. And that's good. Like I'm all for that, but they often don't stand up to scrutiny when you interrogate them architecturally. So maybe in a way, your professor just wants to be convinced first that you understand the project spatially. And then it's like, no, go wild, draw it any way you want. Maybe that's it. Alex, I can only guess. I really can only guess. But my advice, and I think I said this at the very beginning of the stream actually, because I wasn't sure if you were going to be able to join, is that you got to give one for the tutor first, maybe. Like, see, Rebecca and I were talking about this today. I'm not speaking about you specifically, Alex, like because I don't know what your relationship with your tutor is personally. But if you don't want to do what the tutor says, I don't think it's enough for you to just simply tell the tutor that or to disagree. You got to explain to them that you don't want to do it by proving to them that you've tested it. So you sort of, your project might be a square, but your professor wants it to be a circle. You don't get to come back next week and say, I didn't want to do a circle. You come back next week and you've got two projects. One is a square and one is a circle. And then you make your case why you still think the square is better. And in some cases, you might actually be charmed by the circle. So you want to be you want to do the circle instead. Now, Alex, you could very well draw this traditionally just to appease your tutor, but you might discover that it actually works better drawn traditionally. You don't know until you make it. And I think a lot of students, and I used to do this, find a lot of reasons not to do extra work. But sometimes the extra work is the way in which you unlock the project. I don't know if that helps you, Alex. I really hope it does. I don't know what you guys think, chat. Is that a fair thing to say? Anyone got any thoughts for Alex in the chat? Let me know. Son in Studio, is artistic architecture dead? I don't think so. I just think commercial architecture is just such a big thing now that a lot of talented architects get lost in the system. And you need quite a lot of money to treat architecture like an art form. You need really ambitious clients who are willing to support you. And that's really hard. It's never been harder to find. Architecture is heavily regulated now as well. Makes it harder to do things from an artistic point of view. Zed, can you remember any of his books? Who? Peter Zumthor's books? Atmospheres is one that always comes to mind. I'm pretty sure that's Peter Zumthor. Let me double check that. Atmospheres, I'm pretty sure. Obviously, he's got his big coffee table books. Atmospheres, though, is the one always comes to mind. Thinking architecture and atmospheres, they're the two. They're the two that always stood out to me when I was young. And you know what I loved about them? They're little short, easy reads. So my little architecture goblin brain could just sort of understand what we were talking about. Well, at least I thought I understood. I mean, if I read it now, it would be an entirely different reading, probably. But atmospheres, it was called. Zed, I'm going to put this in the chat. I mean, this must have been 2010, 2011, probably. Son in Studio, did you just answer that question? I went ahead and already did it. I think you did. Trying to find this. Oh, FIFA Dabber, welcome. How you doing? Cootie Sauce, how was Rotterdam lifestyle wise? Did you bike? It was great. Do you want to know something? It was really funny. So I'm obviously I work with the same company, of course, but I'm just in the Rotterdam office instead of the London one. In London, I was working till about 7 or 8 every night, but in Rotterdam, everybody left the office at 5 and went for beer. So the biggest thing that stood out to me was that they had the work-life balance down way better, if you ask me. But that's a cultural thing. London's different. Anyone knows who's ever worked in London. You live in London, you live to work. What have I got here? Have I missed anything? S3N S33. Welcome. Hello. Regarding uni, how do you feel about IAAC in Barcelona? Interested in doing my master's there. Master in Ecological Architecture and Advanced Construction. I'm terribly sorry. I've never met anyone who studied at that university. That is the honest truth. I am not the right person to tell you. I've never met anyone. And usually that's how I base my opinions about universities I haven't been to. I just hear what people say. Anyone in the chat, can you help out S3N? What are your thoughts on, how do you pronounce that? Is it IAAC? Barcelona? Sorry, I don't have anything from my own personal experience I can help you out with on that one. But it's exciting that you're pursuing your masters in other places. Guys, we're over the hour here. I'm just having a look at the chat. There's still a few to get through. I'm not going to go later than 9:30 again tonight, just so that you're aware. So if you've got a question, get your question in now, okay? Getting through them here slowly. Do you know if working for MVRDV is more chill than OMA? No, I think they're probably equally as intense from what I've gathered. When I was working in the Rotterdam office in Rotterdam, I knew people there at the time I was working with who had worked in both of those offices, and they both said the same thing. If you ask me now if I could pick one to work in, I'd probably pick MVRDV. Just because I sort of think OMA's had its time. MVRDV's been around a long time too, but that's just what I think. I know you weren't asking me that necessarily. I didn't bike though. The apartment that I was set up in was walking distance, so it was so cozy. It was a really nice city. Have you ever been to Rotterdam? There's this incredible McDonald's. It's built in this beautiful modern, like sort of little folly of sorts. It's beautiful and good McDonald's. Son in Studio, am I an architect? If I'm not an architect yet, but I love architecture. You're not an architect yet, I don't think. Depends what system you're in, though. Not in the UK, you're not an architect. Loving it doesn't make you an architect. Zed says you were talking about that ramp in Sweden. It's a bad ramp, but maybe it's supposed to communicate something. But that's the point, right? Zed, I completely, I understand exactly what you're asking, Zed. But who cares? If grandma can't get into it because the ramp's bad, then the ramp's bad. And you know, if Uncle Crumb here breaks his hip because he can't get up the ramp, I don't care what your idea is. All I see here is a bad ramp. And I think architects have a responsibility to design for, I suppose, the layman in a way, everyday people, not just one another. No one cares about your diagram, your thesis, or the philosophy or the spirit of the building if you can't get into it. I know like that's an extreme response to your point there, Zed. Like, because I hear what you're saying completely. I agree. We do that all the time, don't we? Like we over intellectualize the spaces that we design, but at the end of the day, a boss I always had a great zinger. He would just shut people down all the time. You'd be standing in front of him, you'd be presenting all sorts of work, and he would say, "How do I get in the front door?" He just cut you off every time. "How do I get in the front door? How do I get in the front door?" You see, if you had an answer to that question, the next one was always, "If I'm an old lady and I've just come back from the shopping market, the grocery market, and I've got 2 shopping bags, what is the fastest way for me to get into my apartment?" And often you'd be like, well, but do you not want to talk about the ornate brick detail here on the lintel?" And it's like, no, I want to know what is it's a rainstorm. It's late November. I've got 2 grocery bags. One of them's going to burst. I need to get into my apartment right away. What is the most efficient way for me to get into the apartment? And it was really refreshing to sort of be critiqued that way by an architect, because they were only literally thinking of practical considerations. So if you applied that same sort of critical rigor to a project like the one I put into the chat, why is it a ramp? Why is it a ramp? That's a horrible space to have to navigate. Like, my first impression of the building is that you don't want me to be in it. It feels like a fortress. And I'm not being critical of Peter Selsing. Peter Selsing was a phenomenal architect. Like, who am I to criticize Selsing? I'm just saying it's not a good ramp. And sometimes that's all that matters. Don't know. Is that unfair, chap? The Winchester House, 100%. That's the one. The Winchester House. Zed, the Winchester House. Check out the Winchester House. It's a response to your earlier question about architecture that's sort of intentionally not good. J3 Hill 117. I'm a 5th-year architecture student at the Fay Jones School in Arkansas. While it's a good program, I've been exploring competitions on my own to push my work further. I interviewed with RCR after. Congratulations on getting that interview. Very impressive. There's summer workshop, but couldn't join due to school. I also interned in Switzerland, became really drawn to Zumthor's work. Yeah, I mean, it's a European thing, isn't it? I think. I mean, obviously, Zumthor has a worldwide following. Of course, he does. But you know, us Europeans are obsessed with him. But I'm glad that you're like interested in coming to Europe and stuff. That's amazing to leave America and see how the real architecture is made. Is that controversial? I don't know. No shade. But congratulations on getting the interview at RCR. That must not have been easy. Too bad you couldn't do the internship. But these things happen. The way I always say it, when things don't work out with your dream jobs and companies that you didn't get the job in, the company's not going anywhere. You could end up working there in a couple of years. Your career is long. Guys, this is like the final call for questions. Okay, so I'm ringing the bell. Last rounds, right? I need to actually get myself one of these bells. There's 25 of you in the chat now, which is fantastic. This has been great. Last chance for questions now. Okay, last chance. Get them in right now. And before I get into the last rounds here of questions, I was just about to say, if you're here, welcome. Thank you so much. If you haven't done so yet, subscribe to the channel. If you've already subscribed to the channel and you say, "Crumley, I'm already supporting you," you're lying, because there's a Patreon link in here and you can subscribe to the Patreon for free. Because what do you get on the Patreon for free? Not only do you have the option to support my entire content network now that is architecturally themed, but you can also just for free join and get what I think about the architecture profession in writing form. That's right, I write, I don't just talk. Might not be a good writer, but I do write a lot of words really fast, and I publish on there pretty regularly. So I mean, that's pretty good value considering it's literally free. So before I get into that now, one last time, sub to the channel and get your last questions in, because I'm doing the final round here. Okay, here we go, people. So where was I? Have I skipped anyone? Curry sauce. What would a good answer be if a firm throws a curveball and asks what's your least favorite project they did and how would you improve it without being very vague as someone with less experience? This happened to me in an interview, and the project I picked out happened to have been designed by the project architect who was interviewing me in the interview, and I got the job. So in a way, that was lucky. But the fact that I didn't just see, this is the thing, right? I always have to be careful with this, okay? I know a lot of you people in this chat found my channel through my commentary videos on Helsinki. But guys, I'm very aware, like, that's not necessarily the right way to critique something architecturally. So I was in this interview and I got that question, "What is your least favorite building of ours?" And I just answered. And they started laughing because they obviously both had worked on this project and they wanted to know why. And I explained that I'm going to sound like a loser, okay? I explained that I once spent like an hour outside of the building trying to figure out what one of the motifs meant. And I couldn't understand it, and that frustrated me, and that was it. So not only was I like critical of the building, the reason I had wasn't even that good. And they told me what the real reason was, and I felt like an idiot in the interview, and we all sort of laughed about it. But they liked that I was willing to be critical of a practice that I was literally there interviewing for. And I think criticism is important. So I think they like that, and I ended up getting the job. Now I didn't just get the job for that reason. The point is, I wasn't just a fanboy, you know. I wasn't just gushing. I wasn't just telling them what I wanted to think. I was prepared to be critical. So that was a curveball I was once asked. It happens, so just be prepared. If you've done your research on the practice, then just be prepared. But the worst thing you can do is say, "Oh no, I love all of your buildings." Come on. If you ever worked in an architecture practice, most of the people there hate the buildings in my experience. Like the owner's usually proud, but most of the others aren't. But I don't know. Uh where am I here? Just trying to see here. Did I miss something? No, I'm still going. Dan has joined the chat. Hey everyone, a little hi from the airport. Dan, thanks for joining. Much appreciated. Where are you off to, Dan? If you don't mind me asking. Safe trip, safe flight. Hope you're having a good time. Alex, I definitely see what you mean. I'll rewatch the start of the stream too. Thank you very much. Yeah, Alex, apologies. I was explaining at the very beginning as well. Thank you for joining. The DMs, I'm just not good at the DMs. I think these things deserve conversations. And, you know, it's not as easy to answer in a couple of lines of text. I hope you understand. So I didn't mean to just pull you all the way from TikTok over here, but thanks for joining, because every Thursday I'll do this. So if you've sent me a DM and I've never responded, you might have to just show up in the CRUMCAST. That's literally how important I am now. Listen to me. I'm sounding like an absolute diva, but I think it's better. You'll get a better answer this way. So thanks, Alex. I really hope that's helpful. And all the best. All the best with the problem. Where are we here? Cal and chat. Can you drop new stuff going on in architecture? Because all these architects are from the near past. What's the future or present like? What's a big paradigm shift? Okay, that's a good question. I don't know if I actually am on board with it or not. But guys, you can't be ignoring AI. Don't be ignoring artificial intelligence, whatever you think of it. Don't be ignoring it. I think that probably could potentially be one of the biggest paradigm shifts the industry has ever had, up there with CAD and the invention of the brick, possibly. So, I don't know. What do you think, chat? AI? Is it here to stay? Is it a bubble? I sort of think it's a bubble, but that won't change the fact that I think it's going to heavily influence architecture and the profession in the next couple of years, big time. Don't like it personally, though. That's just me. Mackie, I've heard good things. Okay, Mackie, you're chatting about IAAC. I hope that's helpful. Thanks for covering me on that one, Mackie. Much appreciated. Good. Cootie Sauce, you're in there too. Really appreciated. FIFA Dabber, it seems to me like professors seem to favor organic designs over linear ones. Do you agree, or am I delusional? I don't know. Depends what the school is, doesn't it? In my experience, like I always found Queen's was quite traditional in many ways. Certain aspects of it were. Like you might bring something. Sorry, let's get some water. For example, you might bring something that's quite curvaceous and fluid and wild, and within a couple of weeks, the straight edges and the corners will be beaten into that project because it's just simpler, more economic and affordable and less indulgent. Now, I would also argue, though, that it's probably the greatest challenge of the architect is to do something that's really minimal. Like to do less is the real challenge, and to do it well. Do a simple box. Like it's probably one of the hardest things in the world an architect can design. So your question though wasn't necessarily that. It seems like they favor organic designs. Architecture school goes through trends. Like I said, I haven't studied now in 8 years, 9 years. I don't know what the trends are right now, but I only just know what my experience was. And I think you can do whatever you want as long as you're convincing. Can you convince your tutor? Then you can do what you want. In my opinion. Ilian, Cal Cromley sports correspondent. Ireland are currently 1-0 up against Portugal. But they can't really qualify for the World Cup, can they? I don't think the table's looking good for them. But great to see. Thanks for the update. Fantastic. Must be a difficult day in the office for you tomorrow if Ireland end up winning. Rareism. I think books are great for getting inspiration. How do you buy books? You pay online libraries or buy historical copies? I mean, some architecture texts are incredibly, incredibly expensive. Always buy secondhand if you can, in my experience. That's what I've done with some traditional architecture texts, secondhand on Amazon and stuff. Sometimes you can find a good bookstore, but I mean, books are expensive. Mate says, must be common. How do you deal with having your best idea only appearing in time pressure, like T minus 3 days? I have to hand in the first draft tomorrow of my thesis plans and it's still not final. Don't worry about it being final. Just hand in anything. Hand in anything. The worst thing you can do is to not hand something in because it's not, quote, ready yet. It'll never be ready. It'll never be ready. That's my way of motivating you, mate. Just hand in whatever you can. This is all just part of the process. Take your hits, take the criticism, take it on the chin, do better next time, but make sure you hand something in. That's the hardest part of being an architecture student. Serving food and it hasn't been cooked yet. You know it hasn't been cooked. You know it tastes bad, but you got to hear it anyway. It's just part of the game. Ashan says, okay, responding to FIFA Dabber. Guys, remember, these are the last questions, okay? When I get to the end of the chat, I'm going to call it a day because I've been going for almost 90 minutes here. What do you think about stress and architecture? Don't you think it's very unnecessary? I agree. I am not in the position here to blame individuals who feel stressed. I get stressed all the time. But at a certain point, right, stress can only ever be something that you just have to control yourself. You have to make a decision to not be stressed by the industry, by the profession, by your tutor, by your boss. You have to control it eventually. And that's a skill. And that's not my way of saying that it's in your head. It's not that it's in your head. It's just something you have to spend years working on. Because it's not just architecture, it's stressful. Modern life is stressful. So we have to get better at dealing with it. Exercise, eat a good meal, see friends, do fun things, have a hobby. And then do architecture for every other hour in the day. Ishan says, oh, you're responding to Sonnen. Thank you for responding. Good, good. Opinion on Big's new project in Hamburg. I'm going to quickly look at that one now on here. Don't think I'm familiar with it straight away. I accidentally typed in Big Hamburger and I'm getting all sorts of images. 1 second. Doesn't look that sexy, does it? It's whatever. I just feel like I'm going to make comments on it that are like the Helsinki ones again. I actually like Big. I have to say, I actually really like Bjork Ingels. I like that company. I think they do cool stuff. I know it's not for everyone, but I like them. I think they're cool. But that images I just saw there, Dario, not really for me. Einar Gustafsson, I missed you last week. I have a banger video request. Do an architect review on the game pools. Please look it up. Is that a game? I'll check that out in a minute, Einar. Thank you for joining again, though. Great to see you. Olivia, need any advice how to get your first part 1 job? That's a big, broad subject, Olivia. It's a really beefy subject, and it's really complicated, and it's really tough. Okay, let's assume how to get your first part 1 job. Olivia, if you've got time, are you a graduate? Have you graduated yet? I need some more details to your specific situation because it's different for everyone. Because I don't want to just give a catch-all advice for everyone because that's not really fair. I want to try and help you. Henry Finglish, welcome, says AI is economically probably a bubble, but its use isn't going to decrease really ever. That's what I think. It's here to stay. And there are probably some really young architects who are going to make a fortune developing really useful tools. And that's good. I'm here for it. I am here for it. So I think it's the reality. Leon says, I think AI is reaching the limits of its potential. I personally don't use it on moral grounds, but I do see its use in repetitive tasks and conceptual visualizing as a regular tool in the near future. Yeah, Leon, I think I generally agree with you. But I do think there's a slippery slope in the sense that, like, I mean, as an architecture student, I don't think I would have passed. No, okay, I want to be careful here. Most of my student work was produced with pen and paper and pencil, okay? But that's not meant as a flex. It was because I really couldn't use Photoshop or AutoCAD for a long time. But then a lot of my other projects were produced with AutoCAD and Photoshop. Now, Photoshop is AI. It's not generative AI, but it's artificial intelligence. And there might be an architect from 40 years ago who hand painted and visualize their work, and they probably think I'm a big fat phony. So really, it's like, at what point are we just the floodgates going to open and we all just accept that generative AI is now just part of a creative workflow, and that's it. I'm not there yet, but I am open to the possibility happening to me personally. But it's interesting conversation. Ishan says, yeah, I realized my design process basically is giving in everything it needs and stripping it down to become more simple. Simplicity is best. Henry Finglish, 80% of the work is done in the last 20% of time. I hear that a lot, and it's 100% the case. Zed, are the questions I posted up there? Chat, can you see them? I don't know, chat. Oh, I see one. You've got one. What were your uni studio wires? Zed, that might be the last question I get to for you. What were your uni studio wires? I never did all-nighters. Wouldn't do all-nighters. They're stupid in my opinion. Can't speak for everyone, but I did an all-nighter in my very first semester, and I never did another one in uni. And that's, 5 years. So I would start really early. I try and get in the studio for about 7 or 8, and then I would work up until lunchtime, and then I would socialize in the studio with friends from like lunchtime until about 4 or 5. Then I'd get dinner, and then I would work until about 11 at night. So I would probably do about an 8 to 10-hour day every day of the week, except for the day after review days. I would always take that as a day off. So I would probably work 6 days a week, and the review day itself was never a work day because it's a review day. So really, there was only ever 5 days of production, and those days would be between 10 and 12 hours probably. And that was how I did it. But everyone's different. Everyone's gonna have their own system. What else am I looking at here? I'm trying to see Zed. Guys, I'm at the end here. Olivia, if you've got any more context there, I want to try and answer your question. If not, we might have to cover this next week if you don't mind, because it's a big, broad topic. Zed, I don't see any more questions from you. I just see what were your uni studio hours. Okay, Olivia, you're here. Zed, this is your last chance to get that question. And again, just underneath here. So, Olivia, yours will be the second to last one, and Zed, yours will be the final one. And then I'll wrap things up. Okay, no, Zed, that's not a question. You're just saying about someone to come on the podcast. Is that right? Abdel Wahed El Wakil. Is that it's okay if it's not a question. I just want to make sure I've read that out. I'll get to it in a second. Olivia says, yes, I graduated last month, so I started applying for jobs just recently. 0 replies. Decided to work on my portfolio more and learn softwares. Olivia, you answered my question for me because that is exactly what I did. And that is exactly what I would advise to anybody who's in your position. Now, at certain point, you're going to need to start earning money. And if the architecture job hasn't come in, do take up part-time work. Just do anything. But remember to focus on building that portfolio, improving your CV, and getting those applications out. The right job will come around. And in certain cases, you might have to move or relocate or go to another city. And I know that's not ideal for lots of people, but sometimes the most jobs are in the big cities. It's just the way of it. But do not worry, okay? Because you've got a really super long, incredibly long career. You'll have it all to work. But getting that first job is as hard as it gets, I think. Yeah, Montoute Studios, so much of your application responses has nothing to do with you. It's the case. It's really, really difficult. It was my first part 1 job was the hardest job for me to get. And then after that, it just became a snowball. And it never really became a problem. Like, I mean, I'm a very privileged position right now where I am in my career. But like, I can't remember last time I wanted a job and wasn't able to sort of get an interview or whatever. And that's common for everyone, I think, to a large extent. So, Olivia, be patient. Keep working on your portfolio and your CV. Do not take the rejections personally or the lack of replies. That's common. And you'll be fine. Because like I've said to so many people before, if you're in this chat, you are an architecturally engaged student and individual. You're here because you care, you're passionate, you want to learn, you want to know something. So you'll be okay. Is that weird? That's my way of comforting you all, okay? So you'll be fine. Olivia, if you join next week and you have more questions about it specifically, I'm happy to talk. But Look, you've got it figured out already. Your comment there is everything you should be doing, and now you just have to be patient and wait, and it'll work out. You'll be fine. Congratulations though on graduating, and best of luck. Best of luck. Cootie Sauce says, "Love tuning in the past 3 weeks, man. Awesome part of my week, and each time I forget, each and get surprised." Yeah. I'm really happy with how it's gone because I know a lot of you turn up every week again, and that's fantastic. But the numbers are better. There are more of you here. The questions are better. Like we just don't run out of things to talk about. So no, it's great. I'm glad you could make it. I appreciate it. I love seeing the same names coming back. Yeah, Montoot Studio, thanks for dropping in there. Completely agree. You just got to keep going. Persistence, keep going. It's a tough grind. Zed, the final question of the night. Are there any architecture news websites out there? Chat. I don't know. The Zine, Arc Daily, Architecture Journal. Anyone in the chat there can help out Zed? Guys, it is 9:30. I've been going here for about 1 hour 35 minutes. That is it for another week of Crumbcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Much appreciate everybody joining in the chat. Olivia, thank you so much. Appreciate your answer. Your content has been very helpful for me, and I will be coming back. Thank you. Great. Glad to hear it. I just want to help you people as best as I can. So thanks for joining. That's it. Guys, if you're still here and you're just dropping off and you haven't done so yet, do me a favor. You can thank me by subscribing to the channel. It is all I ask. Hit the subscribe button. That's it. That's all I need from you. Much, much, much appreciated. Einar, I will check out that game and I will come back to you next week. But thanks for the recommendation. People, it's been fantastic. Another episode, another week of Crumbcast. Good luck with the studies. Good luck with work. Good luck with the job applications. 2-0 to Ireland. What a night. It is going well. Okay, people, signing off now. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Goodbye.